This past year has changed quite a lot in terms of what we know about Call of Duty. Some things really cool, like a transition to free DLC post-launch, the ability to play with your friends on any platform they may have, a free-to-play battle royale and other things, but also some other stuff like strict skill-based matchmaking among other things you can rightfully take issue with, may not have been that great with their introductions this year. But one thing that we've only found out about recently that has changed for both Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and this past year's installment of Modern Warfare is that if you're a story fan or a fan of the Black Ops universe, this past year has changed just about everything that you've known about Black Ops. Today, we're going to be breaking down what this means, what that change is, and what that means for the future. As we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of this revelation and change to the Black Ops universe? Like it, love it, dislike it, whatever it is, let me know. As well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Black Ops Cold War, Modern Warfare, and Warzone, as we're on that road to 400,000 subscribers, and the next few months here are about to be pretty busy with stuff that you won't want to miss. But anyways, let's get into it. Previously, in terms of the Black Ops universe, we knew of World at War to Black Ops 4, and chronologically, that went World at War, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 4 actually was a prequel to Black Ops 3 then. But introduced with this next year is Black Ops Cold War, and this has been something that we've been told is nestled right in between Black Ops and Black Ops 2. But realistically, that's a big gap to fill and a lot of time to work with because Black Ops took place in the 60s and Black Ops 2 took place in 2025. But Black Ops Cold War takes place right in the early 80s here and tries to be an extension of the original Black Ops and again, fill some of those gaps we may have had. But what's really fascinating is that we not only have these events playing into the Black Ops universe, but also the events of what we would normally consider an entirely different universe in the Call of Duty franchise. Modern Warfare 2019 is, if we consider the lore and Warzone canon, now being written into Black Ops' universe. We'll get to how in just a second, but it's also important to note that this is entirely different than the original trilogy of Modern Warfare. So it's not like they're writing the entire original storyline in, but just right where we're at now with Modern Warfare 2019, a soft reboot of that Modern Warfare franchise. Do we utilize the same set of characters? Mostly. We saw introduced the likes of Price, Gaz, Ghost, Zakhaev, and many others, but also we had a ton of new faces like Mace, Wyatt, Rose, and plenty others that are brand new and expand on what we knew of with Modern Warfare. But that storyline is also different. In the original trilogy, the younger Zakhaev, Victor, had basically no real sway in the storyline. Yes, he did some stuff, but he kind of was looked at as that deadbeat kid coasting off the name of his father's criminal empire. But in Modern Warfare 2019, and what we see within Spec Ops and in Warzone, he actually plays a decent role. So even just from that, you can see that we use some of the same likeliness as the original trilogy, but it's not the original story at all, and there are no real ties from one to the next, and that's the key. That's why this can happen. Modern Warfare to Modern Warfare 3 is its own sort of unique bubble, a universe of its own, and we thought that maybe Modern Warfare 2019 would be sort of the same thing when we saw it was a soft reboot, but unbeknownst to us, this fits a much larger narrative and a much larger picture now. And that narrative is that Modern Warfare 2019 is now being written into the Black Ops universe, and what could very well just be then considered the Call of Duty universe, making from here on out one sort of universe, one story arc, and I think that's actually pretty cool. But okay, it's one thing to say it, but how do you back it up? Because that's kind of considered just entirely impossible from everything that we've known in previous Call of Duties. And the first real key to understanding this is to first understand Modern Warfare 2019 storyline and narrative direction. In the campaign, we saw our cast and crew tracking down the parties involved, ultimately leading to Barkov's facility, where you fly out there. Having killed Barkov, Alex seemingly sacrifices himself and stays behind to detonate the charges, though you know that he makes it out because he makes an appearance in multiplayer and then in the Warzone lore. And then you enter a cutscene with Price and Laswell. You learn that the power is shifting, Russia disowned their General Barkov, you learn that Shepard exists in this universe, and the creation then of Task Force 141. You also learn that Zakhaev wants to be the next in line for operations, and they subtly tie in the fact that the father-son duo, as Price mentioned, that he almost killed Imran in Pripyat with Macmillan, which is a nod to COD 4. But now Victor is leading that charge. Zakhaev looks to be teaming up with Hadir, Farah's brother from a campaign, to grow an unstoppable force and to see Al-Qatala rise to power, but 141 will seemingly be there to stop them. But if you fast forward through the credits, you find that we have a new cutscene and one that indicates that there was an invasion on Verdansk from from none other than Al-Qatala. Then we end up seeing Price, Laswell, Nikolai, and Kamarov discussing the coming storyline in Spec Ops and how Verdansk was rebuilt after the Cold War, but that's now ground zero of this new conflict. But that was our first subtle tie-in, that Verdansk was around in the Cold War and it was a flourishing city at that time. So the story of the city goes a little deeper, even just from that campaign, before we even jumped into Spec Ops or later on a couple of months later into Warzone. But this joint operation between Coalition and Allegiant forces would be known as Armistice, and the story then would follow both into Spec Ops and later on into Warzone. At the time, we of course didn't know that Warzone was going to be a thing, but we see that's where a lot of the story is progressing. But because of this timeline of events, we do know that Warzone is canon, and there's continuity between campaign, Spec Ops, and Warzone. So while we see this story progress through the intel and Easter eggs, this is directly affecting the canon of Modern Warfare storyline. But again, that crazy part is that this isn't necessarily new, but it was first teased right around the reveal of Cold War. We saw our first mention of Perseus in the intel sequences, who, if you haven't really followed any of the storyline that we know of right now with Cold War and what we'll be seeing this upcoming year, Perseus is that main bad guy, a sort of specter, a ghost that the CIA is hunting in Black Ops Cold War. Perseus is mentioned numerous times in the intel since then, and it all points to the fact that the storylines have Perseus and the Elder Zakhaev in this new storyline, Imran Zakhaev, having some sort of connections, that Perseus and Zakhaev were working together, but ultimately may not have gotten to the same goal because their objectives just were not aligned. So they split off at some point here at this. But our main characters are also mentioned in the recent intel drops as well, with a letter from the Committee of State Security addressing the CIA assets, claiming that Perseus is a top priority for Western intelligence agencies, but also that known foreign agents are Adler, Sims, and Lawrence, with Hudson as their handler, and that Z, or Zakhaev, was behind some of the active measures operations to destabilize the US during the Cold War. That seems pretty straightforward enough that we have numerous tie-ins with multiple characters in not only the Modern Warfare storyline, but also Black Ops Cold War with this intel in Warzone. And that is how they're tying these together. And it looks like now they're almost entirely canon. So if we take a look at our timeline and how things will work here, that Black Ops universe, or I guess now we can just probably call it the Call of Duty universe, is World at War beginning in 1942, Black Ops taking place in the 60s, Black Ops Cold War in the early 80s, Modern Warfare 2019 in both 2019 and 2020, playing on a real-life setting here at this, Black Ops 2 in 2025, Black Ops 4 in 2043, and Black Ops 3 in 2065. So kind of mind-blowing if you were a fan of the Black Ops series that it's now being transitioned into perhaps just the Call of Duty universe. But this leaves a lot of questions though for the future, because while this is cool for the immediate present and what we can see it do to the storyline, kind of bringing our fan favorite characters over and now maybe being able to interact with each other in a storyline sense, what does this mean for the future? Because the biggest and most strange circumstances coming up is that Black Ops 2 takes place in 2025. If Modern Warfare truly is a modern game, well, I'd still say we're a ways off from some of the tech that we saw within Black Ops 2. Maybe not so much as, say, Black Ops 3, but Black Ops 2 definitely doesn't match up one-to-one with the era that we're in with Modern Warfare. So does this mean that that's going to have to be retconned? Hopefully not, because that would then change a lot of the story and outcome for what we saw with the Mason family lineage, what we saw with, say, Raul Menendez, who is mentioned in Black Ops Cold War already, it seems, within the map of Cartel. There's a lot of things that would just have to be rewritten, which hopefully that's not the case. Maybe this is a standalone thing where Modern Warfare doesn't really ever progress past 2019, 2020 in terms of that storyline, and therefore maybe we do see that plausible leaps to different tech and all things like 2025 offers with Black Ops 2. That was the big thing back then whenever that game was launched, was that it was meant to be futuristic, but also plausible. So a little further though, another question is, what does this mean for the future of different titles? Does this mean that one, everything is going to be connected, so they have to tie in with the Black Ops universe, with the Modern Warfare bridged universe here with this? We just don't know. Modern Warfare Roman numeral 2 could be something that continues on from, of course, Modern Warfare 2019, but we'll just have to see how that fits in time. But for the time being, it sure looks like everything that we knew about Black Ops' universe has been changed within this last year, and I'm all for that. I'm a huge story nerd. I love seeing that this stuff pieces together after a decade of having fan favorite characters and storylines. Finally, them all starting to circle the drain together is pretty cool if you ask me, especially when it's really kind of just done right underneath your noses. I love the fact that if you just casually play Modern Warfare, you may not even know there's a storyline in the background of, say, Spec Ops, of, say, Warzone. And that's something that we've seen happen since about Black Ops 3, whenever we saw hidden storylines behind the specialists in Black Ops 3. But so to now have this kind of stuff all kind of come full circle and then loop back into each other, I think that's just pretty awesome, especially from a writing perspective. That's where we're going to wrap it up. Just wanted to talk about this here with you a little bit and let you know what was on deck here for some of these changes within this past year and also the coming year as well within storyline and the narrative direction. But said, let me know your thoughts down below. Are you looking forward to these changes here? Do you like the fact that it looks like both Modern Warfare and Black Ops are going to be sharing the same universe? Maybe not. Whatever it is, let me know. Hopefully you enjoyed the video though. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, Warzone, and of course, Black Ops Cold War. We have a lot of stuff up on deck here in the coming weeks, so make sure to stick it here. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. I can live on both those. If you guys want to straight up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But said, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.